Where are we? There we are.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. We are back in our favorite bar.
Look at that. Technology.
Look at that. Technology. Starting to feel a lot like our old haunt. We are so happy to be here. We got a bunch of new things that Pat especially has been working overtime on. Other than working so hard on the show, Pat, how's your week?
Well, I got a new computer, so that changes a lot of things in a lot of ways.
Look at that.
One, I'm not going to crash as often.
I make no promises.
All my hardware it's actually Windows 11, so I keep getting notifications on my laptop. This is no longer going to work in a week. This is going to be we're not supporting you. You're flying solo. You're poor. They keep reminding me.
But now you're all caught up.
I'm 2023. Oh, what is it? 2024?
That's pretty good. That is pretty good. I don't even know when my computer is from, which might be part of my issue as I have to my forced exit every week. What are you looking at? Your green screen?
Oh, I just wanted to point out that I have a weird little NASA mug. A kid bought it for me a long time ago, but it's because, and this is a tip I just wanted to share with people who have to green screen. They have to Zoom calls at work or whatever. I changed to this because my green screen makes the mug disappear. But if you want to buy a green beer, you could probably have one while you're on your work call.
That is really, or you could just do what I always do and just put it in like a sippy cup. I put my wine or whatever I'm drinking in this and I bring it everywhere.
That's true. That's the obvious way. Me, I'm like loopholing all around.
Yeah. It's smart. No, that's smart. If you don't have a sippy cup, definitely buy green beer.
There you go. Devin was asking what I got. I got a rebuilt Lenovo with this shop in town that turns them into gaming machines. So it's pretty high powered one. So I'm set for at least 3 years.
I'm Mac all the time, which means when one thing goes, it all just disintegrates. So
and you're a slave to the man.
I am a total, it's terrible. Every single product is Apple. It's terrible. So I just saw somebody ask how everybody got these little punch up pod, what are they called? Buttons. And hi, I think Jesco. Yeah. Hi. We last week finally caught up with the rest of the grifting podcast class and started monetizing our show. Mostly, this is not how Pat got his new computer. Mostly, it was because we were sort of being suppressed a little bit. And the better, when you monetize and you have more members, YouTube kind of doesn't push your video down to the bottom. So we are just players in the game. They want to make money off of.
So they promote people who are making them money, and we are not making them money, or we're not in the quest for money.
Right.
So they don't have a lot of confidence in us growing our show.
Exactly. So on that note, we are encouraging everyone, please, to wait. So this is where I have to go to our banner. Please make sure to like and subscribe and smash that notification bell for sure. But then also, we also did want to thank all of the people who became members last week. So thank you guys so much. If you watched last week, you saw me slow tears roll down my cheeks as I saw you all joining and getting your little punch up pod buttons. So thank you to all of you OG punch up pod heroes and sheroes. And we are so, so appreciative to all of you for your support. So thank you. Thank you so much.
I second that. I really do appreciate it. Really.
Very much. I'm going to try to read as many of these little chats as you guys are putting up, but I feel like, yes, all of your names. Oh God. Thanks, JR. I feel like I pay JR to write nice stuff about me in the chat.
Yeah. Where can we join and subscribe, JR? Say something nice about me, guys.
That notification button. I don't know, Pat. Should we hash it out?
Yeah, let's just jump into it. Let's do it. Wait.
Oh, No, we have a new format, and I really need a producer. We have a new format. Okay, so what we wanted to do is, because it's been getting so depressing out there. I mean, it's been depressing for a long time for so many people, and it's just getting harder and harder to ignore. So we really wanted to sort of re-emphasize those moments that bring us some joy and happiness and love, or galvanize us. So we wanted to begin each show with cheers to something really fantastic. And this amazing woman is a repeat.
Yeah, we could pull a clip of hers every week.
Every week.
We drop one of them on the editing floor because we're like, do we want to show her again? We showed her last week.
It's like basically our whole show is just like a fan club for Claire Daly. So let's just watch her rock it as usual.
Despite the catastrophic death toll it has inflicted, Israel is losing on the ground and in the court of public opinion. There's no way that this ends that doesn't leave Israel a pariah state with occupation and apartheid on borrowed time, and they know it. So they're doing everything they can. Desperate acts of aggression to provoke a wider conflict with Lebanon, with Iran, with anybody, to draw in the US, to save them from the consequences of their own actions. And as Yemen shows, Butcher Biden is reporting for duty. With Europe's proud genocide by his side, they are the ones who have enabled the continuation of Israeli terror. Without them, it would already be over. So take note, Butcher Biden. The ancestors of the Ireland that you claim to be from disown you. Keep our country out of your mouth. And as for von der Leyen and genocidal Germany, with your words and deeds supporting Israel in the ICJ, not in our name. The people of Europe stand with Palestine and with South Africa.
Take my wife's name
Amen.
out of your mouth.
Really?
God, I love her.
Butcher Biden, just straight up calling it out. Like, can you imagine?
Yep.
Even our best Democrat on Palestine calling him a butcher.
By the way, who is our best? I mean, like, let's
Rashida?
not even. Sort of, but like, nobody comes with her ferocity like that. And also, Biden, likes, sort of fancies himself in that Irish revolt spirit and claims that so often. So there's something particularly satisfying about having an Irish member of parliament tell him that he is not wanted here.
I mean, we could have it with Bernie. Bernie would never be as salty and viscerally, he wouldn't rally the troops in our hatred as she does as much.
Yeah.
But he could be out there.
Yeah, he could be
doing this,
I mean, yeah, he did it pretty well against Hillary. He just won't do it against his good friend Joe. But yeah, he could be doing that. He should be doing that. But I thought that Ruckus AOC was going to do that. I think Rashida Tlaib has done that sometimes. I think Ilhan Omar has been great sometimes. I don't follow Claire Daly on every single issue, but I've yet to see her cast a cowardly vote or go along to get along. So I appreciate that.
Would not happen.
That level of integrity and passion.
So cheers.
So yeah, cheers.
Claire Daly.
Cheers to a really good
Claire
show
Daly.
and to Claire Daly. We've already been pre-gaming.
Pre-gaming.
Cheers.
All right, let's get to the hashtags.
Huh? Look at that. It's a whole new show. Good job, Pat. Nice job.
I limited it to 3 explosions.
Blow it up. We are blowing it up. Yeah, I know. Me too, JR. Also, I don't know if I can can I show that? How do I do this? I want to just reflect the sun once again
Awesome.
for
Cheers.
just, yeah, you're going to get a special cheers the last 2 shows. Thank you. That is incredibly kind and generous. And we are sort of learning how all these different things work. So in order to have a gifted subscription randomly gifted to you, you must join the show. You don't have to, be a paid member, but you do have to, I guess, subscribe. I don't know. What do the kids out there say? Oh my God, I already just crashed. Cannot believe it.
Frozen. Look at you.
God darn it. All right. Well, maybe we got it out of the way early. I'll see y'all in a minute.
That's all right. Let's see. Are you gone? Wait,
not a bad picture. No, I'm leaving. It's just taking a while. I'm gone.
I'll go through the comments. Well, that's going to zoom on me, isn't it, though? Oh well. Oh, that's a little bit much. What do we got here? Here, let's put some stuff in front of my face here to block. Let me thank you guys again. Yeah. But in the chat, let's see. Kiko's here. Good to see you. Claire Daly is amazing. Boom. I'm assuming that's for Claire Daly, not my explosions, but either way, awesome. Not that there's any. JR, excellent. Live, baby. She's back just in time to save the day.
Oh my goodness. Ridiculous. What is going on? And now we're going to both switch each other at the same time. What's weird is that whenever I come back, I am like crazy, like green, blue, white. So I'm not sure why that's happening. But anyway, thank you all for bearing with me. Okay.
I was not ready for that, Lila.
You're ready for me to come back?
We're going to have to edit out that entire part right there. The last 2 minutes of me just pushing buttons over here.
I cannot tell you how long it took me to leave and come back. All right. So now we are going to start the whole thing. I will catch up with comments in a minute. There we are. That is our show topics. We have got poverty is good, actually. COVID for life, from the river to, can you say it without getting banned? And flaccid election. We no longer have to spin the wheel because we just get to everything, because that's how we're going to roll these days. Right? Nice. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start off with poverty is good, actually. And we're going to try very hard to remember to do all the different things we're supposed to do right now. All right. One of the biggest stories is Boeing. We all know that every chance that companies can take to reward their board members and stock shareholders, they will use that money instead of doing anything that has to do with safety. We saw that door fly off the Boeing plane last week, which was insane. And then there were all these articles on how Boeing paid themselves out instead of investing in safety. They offshored so many of their different components, so they're not even being overseen by any one regulatory agency. The Lever, amazing source. Boeing and Spirit execs paid themselves $800 million and spent $68 billion on dividend buybacks while laying off workers and refusing safety investments experts say were necessary. 1 year of buybacks was more than the cost of key safety upgrades.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is what capitalism does. Once a business has made it, it's all about, okay, let's leverage our risk factor for profits as much as possible. And then, they might take a hit economically from their stock, short term. Right. But even that, it's a long-term benefit of, what's it going to really cost them when they cut all these corners. I mean, businesses get sued like crazy. Yep. And it's all factored in. The calculation of what are the odds of us getting sued? How much will we lose? Right. None of it is to make the business better, to benefit the customer better. Yep. None of it.
Well, because the plane that, what did it explode a couple years ago, a Boeing plane, and they were fined, and then they were fined. So that's always factored in, and that's just the cost of doing business, as you said, like lawsuits, and then argued their way into self-regulation. Who else is better to do it than they are? And the Biden administration, of course, helped them do that. So here it is. Documents show that after the 737 crashes, the Biden administration's SEC blessed Boeing's execs move. Oh my God, Boeing execs move to block an initiative to require the company's board to have more members with backgrounds experience in engineering, aerospace, and or aviation. So when you have people who are on your board who know nothing about the product that they are making money off of and investing in, their, as you just said, their sole focus is money. That's it. And it's just it's the same with everything. It's like COVID killing off the working class, first responders or frontline workers. And at a certain point, we're not going to have enough people to do all the jobs. AI won't be able to do it. AI cannot buy the products being put out by these companies, but that's like too far down the road. All they care about right now is lining their pockets.
Yeah, and it's another example of another problem, which is the revolving door with politicians and regulatory agencies and lobbyists. So, if you want to be on the board regulating Boeing, you probably are either a politician already, or you've worked your way up through lobbying for them, or in some way the people that they get that are regulating them now, more and more come from the industry themselves, come from the company themselves. It's just absolutely corrupt on all levels. And more oversight is obviously needed, but capitalism will never allow us to oversee these companies more in the future. It's only getting worse massively, like exponentially.
Yeah. I mean, which is another reason to tax the rich. Like, I know there's there's actually really not tension between like that philosophy and the MMT crowd at all. It's just, there is no democracy when there are people whose wealth so far outweighs most of the rest of the country or the world, and they have such an enormous influence on getting exactly what they want. And so it's no longer a democracy, as we see in so many different areas of our life, that the only people who really matter are the people with the money, and they will kill their own grandparents to make a buck. I mean, that's just like, that is our only religion in this country. It's the praying to the green god, the money gods. That is it. However, in one wonderful little button to this story, Blinken, who was just at the, oh wow, there's just my phone ringing midstream. Blinken was stranded at Davos because the Boeing 737 broke down, which, couldn't happen to a better person. If only it were some, disgusting place where he had to be stranded, where he would really feel some pain. But I'm sure he'll be well taken care of.
It really does sum it up. He's on his way to Davos, which is the bougie, where all the mega rich get together, and it's like the Dr. Evil meetup, pretty much. Which we should pull that video. I mean, everybody's probably seen it, of the guy there actually speaking to everyone at Davos.
Oh my God, he's so good. I'm gonna forget his name right now, but yeah, who and then he went on Tucker Carlson and said that he was part of the problem also. But he was like, he's a historian. I think he's from Denmark.
You can say anything.
I know, I could say anything. Yeah. Sure, 99%. I can see his name flashing. Rutger? No. All right, I'm not going to do it now. But anyway, yeah, fantastic. They'll never let him back there ever. Anyway, more great news in the economy. The U.S. Department of Labor found that over 208,000 workers are owed at least $163 million in back pay. The department's trying to help you get that money. I mean, this is why, and I don't know if you saw, they just Holtzschel, the governor of New York just
Right.
said she was going to invest like $40 million more in cops to patrol Walgreens and, you know, retail stores that claim, and then they admitted, by the way, but claimed that there had been this whole like epidemic of shoplifting. Then they sort of like, you know, walked that back and said they were wrong about that. But the truth is even if they were right, hire some more employees. Like, hire more employees. Why are you hiring cops? Hire more employees to walk around, get to know your customers. Let's also invest in people so they don't need to steal baby formula and, you know, necessary product. I mean, there's so many different ways to deal with this. The worst way to deal with it is to give more money to cops. But yeah,
absolutely. And I don't know if you've seen some of the pictures around. I saw one today. It was a sign on the self-checkout, like, this is closed because of all the thefts and the bad people. Thank you for not being one of them, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
It's like, it's a failed, you know, it's a failed system. It's a failed, this is where technology is not helping us, really.
Right.
You know, in the long term, it might help you get out through your checkout in 30 seconds or something.
Right.
But that's a job behind that gone. And there's no safety net for any of these jobs is the problem.
Right.
There's no, where do these people go who get outsourced because of these jobs? But the bottom line is these businesses, Walmart included, Walgreens, excuse me.
They all said it, though, yeah.
They were caught lying to their shareholders, you know,
Yep.
and to the public that this theft was a major problem. And they were just using it as a way to try to save another couple $1 million every year.
Yeah, by closing so many, by claiming bankruptcy, right? It's another government bailout, basically.
Right. But it's so, the public is so susceptible to all this propaganda. They've heard this, that everybody thinks, like they always do, we got to give the police some more money. That's the bottom line.
That's the answer to everything. And that's because that police union and their lobbyists, I mean, they're working overtime with the, you know, small businesses in every city to get more funding for that, to get more cops, to get more bailouts from government. I mean, that's the whole scam. And it'd be much harder to do if we were aware that I think violent crimes are like at a record low over the last several decades, actually. And wage theft is a much bigger problem in this country than shoplifting.
Well, don't worry, because they set up a website instead of just like doing it, putting in hiring an IT guy to do a little query. Maybe the guy makes $40,000 on the project, and then they just send checks to the people that have money coming to them.
Yeah.
You have to magically know that you're owed money and go to some website.
Right. And start filling out paperwork. It's just going to be a bureaucratic nightmare, which is, you know, that's every neoliberal solution, in addition to cops, is start filling out your paperwork, means test it. Do you have the receipts to show? I mean, how are you even going to prove that? You have to have kept all of your time cards, balance it against all of your pay stubs. I mean, and they know, of course, they know what they owe you. They've actually hired somebody, probably from McKinsey, to figure out a way to cheat you out of the money. So they know exactly what they owe you, actually. But
of course they do.
Yeah. It's like, you know, it's like filling out your taxes.
Exactly. Taxes.
They know.
Taxes, it should just be, here's what you owe. You want to dispute it one way or another. You want to, you know, file where you have some breaks and have some rebates coming to you and stuff. But they shouldn't have to have us get a W-2 at all anymore. Like that's
none of that.
Ridiculous
it's ridiculous
thing to.
Of course it is.
And
even having to like pay for services like from TurboTax and all these different places, they have lobbying groups that have made this process so much more complicated than it has to be to justify a whole level of management.
Absolutely. It's completely intentional. And it's because those groups lobbied Congress to not have taxes being something you file for free.
Yep.
Which is why on the state level, it was free with a lot of the services still, because, you know, it's a federal mandate versus a state mandate, you know,
right.
In some situations.
Right. All right. Well, here is a good story. Burger King worker awarded, ready for this, a backpack, a movie ticket, no +1, and a Starbucks cup after never missing a day in 27 years. So that's what Burger King, the company, gave to him. But he did get to buy his first home with $446,000 in donations. But again, it's like, that's not the way that's supposed to actually happen.
Right. It's a feel-good story that is defending the system. It's almost like, oh, but then the church gave the guy money, and so we don't need social programs because everybody came up and gathered this money.
I mean, never missing a day of work in 27 years is all like something is massively wrong if that happens anyway, right? Like how does that ever happen?
Oof. I mean, I feel, look, we're taught to struggle and strive and go to work sick was always the thing we were taught forever. And now, if you tell me you had COVID 78 times but you went 27 years, you went in with COVID to work.
Thank you for showing up.
Yep.
And we know that they're doing, I mean, we'll get to that when we get to COVID, but they're actually telling people just to come to school sick with COVID anyway. I don't see where it is, but the flip side of that super feel good story is that a 16-year-old, and now I thought I had put it up here, but okay, I guess it got kicked out along with me. A 16-year-old who was killed in a meat packing, poultry packing plant, 16 years old, should not be operating that machinery anyway, was sucked in and killed. That plant provides Chick-fil-A with a lot of its chicken, but they were fined some like miserably low amount of money, which, as we said, is just factored into the cost of doing business. I can't find it, but anyway. And that's a job where I would love for AI to take over. They say that AI will affect 40% of jobs and will probably worsen inequality. It's crucial that countries build social safety nets to mitigate the impact on workers, says Kristalina Georgieva. And that's the thing that I think so many people who had sort of rose-colored glasses on thought AI would do, is get rid of these mindless, thankless, dangerous jobs. But at the same time, we, of course, have to provide some kind of social safety net, minimum basic income, guaranteed housing. Like, if that could free people up not to have to do those kinds of jobs, but still have a dignified life, that'd be amazing.
It would, but it's just not in capitalism's nature to do any of that. It's just to exploit workers more, provide less of a. We saw the safety net. Homelessness went down dramatically during the pandemic because the federal government spent all this money on programs to put homeless people into hotels and rooms, and it made a huge difference. And they did it because it was a spreader event with a lot of people, and they were panicked about it. So they did that, and it actually had a massive impact on homelessness, which shows you that it's not just drug use. It's not just mental illness. It's like, even when there's drug use and mental illness, if they can have a shelter, they're going to take a shelter. And
that's safe.
Fucking sense. But
I know. Yeah, they love to, it's always like the chicken and the egg, and of course there are some people who have, some mental issues or drug issues or alcohol issues, but they deserve homes also, as we all know. And we never know, again, like, did that come because you're working 3 jobs and you're not making rent and you lose your car and then you lose your kid? And there's it is such violence to lose your home. It truly is social murder. We know that homeless people obviously have much higher rates of early deaths. Even just the struggle with money is, it's life-shattering. It is really a horrible way to have to be forced to live. And it's a choice by our leaders. So
it's a choice by our leaders, and it's because it affects them way less than their families are not as affected. They may have a kid that gets on drugs and has a problem, and they may have to, tough love cut them off or something like that. That might happen.
Right.
But that kid has a safety net that poor kids don't have. without a family that, if you're already in come from a family that's economically okay, whatever your struggle in those areas are, you're more likely to get through it all because you have the safety nets of all those.
You can get into good programs. You're never going to have to. Yeah. I mean, there's
even if you're a complete fuck up, and that's what I mean.
Yes, there is a very different reality for people who are. I'm sorry. Now I'm trying to look at all these. I look at all these comments and I'm saying people who have that safety net, whether it's their family or a society. You look at some of these Scandinavian countries where there is guaranteed housing, and they're not fancy houses, but I feel like that's been sold, that part of the American dream. I think we talked about this a few months ago when I had COVID and I was sick and really couldn't even get online. And I just kept watching TV Land or comedy. I don't even know, but whatever it was sitcoms from the early 2000s, late 1990s. And people lived in normal homes. Many of the main characters were working class. They talked about struggling for money. They even talked about, union strikes and things, and their homes looked so normal. And now you don't see anybody whose home isn't sort of aspirational for the rest of us on regular TV, unless they're the criminal on the cop show.
Well, no, anytime I watch TV and I see these poor people that are trying to show you, they're living in bigger places than I am. The difference is they always make the walls dirty.
Right.
They make it look like dirty and filthy and like they're trashy. It's they're not taking care of their place, but the size of the place is just blows my mind. I'm like, I wish I could live in this place that this poorest person you're showing on TV had.
Yeah. The struggle.
But I did want to go back to the AI for just a second, because I saw, this is what I've been worried about for a long time, is that you can get a robot that can essentially act as a human and learn tasks. And once that cost goes down so much, like now it's $40,000 for these robots that will go pick up a cup of coffee and they're making espresso. And they have a shop in Seattle that is all robotic now. And so, the cost to an employer for something like that, $40,000. Well, maybe the worker's making $40,000 in a year, but then in the year 2, they don't have to pay anybody for that.
That's
job.
right. And there's no benefits. They don't need a time off. They don't need to take breaks.
Yeah,
they don't call in sick. Yeah.
And they go out of business, and that robot is still valuable. It hasn't lost much value to them. So the assets, which they're writing off as tax liabilities, it's a real risk I wouldn't say unskilled, but to, people who have to be in that position or whatever. Right. It's a job that should be somebody can come in, will train you, and you can do it. Those kind of jobs are not going to fly anymore.
Right. And again, well, first of all, I think, that will actually really detract from so many people's experiences. I don't know that we have it so much here in the US, but one of the things I feel like whenever people go to Europe or other places too, I'm sure, but I feel it so much having lived in Rome and being born there, is that, that thing of walking into the alimentari and talking to the person who knows you, or going to get your cafe and having people know who you are and talk a little bit. And that sort of social dynamic of community is just being chipped away more and more in this country, especially, wherever, every city is a driving city, right? We have to really fight against those things that kind of dehumanize us.
That's the important part, is as curious as I would be to see that coffee shop, I would never give them $1, and we can't give them $1.
Yeah,
because they're
making a choice that's detrimental.
If we had a universal basic income, if we had a housing guarantee, if everyone had health care, sure. But knowing that this is a job being replaced, don't support anything that's replacing a job. Yes,
100%. Okay. This, yes, we've seen, and I think we had a couple.
Thank you.
Yeah, it says Victoria's Secret is using AI models out of work, makeup, hair artists, lighting, camera persons out of work, 100%. Also retouching people who
they're influencers now, and they're influencers getting
right.
paid to model clothing and whatnot. Yep. They're complete fake personas, top to bottom.
Yep. They don't complain about diets. They don't drink too much in order to stay skinny or take, Adderall or whatever the hell. They're just easy. You don't have to put up with any of their personality. It's so disgusting. Yes, they are trying to replace anybody who gets in the way of a fast beeline to the money. And then, this was just announced. And it's interesting. So Variety announced this last week. AI generated George Carlin drops a comedy special. As one of the two leading journals out here in Los Angeles covering the entertainment industry, there could have been more of a descriptive attitude in the headline for that article, because that's appalling. His daughter is incredibly unhappy. And, so now she's probably going to have to go fight legal battles, who I don't know if she has the money to do that when you're going to be fighting a studio that has billions of dollars for your own father's actual words and artistic output. So that is our future.
And the tough part legally is that, you need a tort. Who's harmed by this? She's harmed by it probably. And then you've got some people like that, but he's not around to be impacted financially by this.
Right. Move. Yep. Yeah. I mean, the labor unions that were supposed to protect us on this have really screwed the pooch. And they just did. There is a voice actors company that is all AI generated, and they just broke a deal with some studio, and that way voice actors are going to be able to sign up, and you're allowed to say no. You don't have to condone it, but who's going to do that? So every time a voice actor gets a job now, they can sign something that says you can use my words, my voice to generate AI. And if you say no, you probably won't even get a call back, or you definitely won't get the job. And so they are now going to have an enormous trough of voices to, they're going to put a whole group out of work.
So the only people that will get voice work in the future are the celebrities who will attribute their name to the project. And, they're going to do some cost benefit analysis. If we hire Kevin Hart to do the voice, we'll get so many views, but nobody else really matters. And they sort of did that anyway. During the actor strike in the late 90s, it wasn't as long as this past one, but that's when you really saw. It used to be sort of an anomaly when a huge actor did a commercial. It was sort of thought to be beneath them. Pixar kind of changed that, I think.
Well, yeah, and because they were allowed to do commercials, so they started doing commercials. Well, if you can get a huge actor to do a commercial, then, for a lot of working actors, every brand wants to have a star ambassador. And it didn't used to be that way. But so now, almost every commercial, even things that are sort of cable, really sort of low rent, have big stars in them.
Well, the effect of that is it's just more pushing to the 1%, basically. So the rich people are going to get hired, which means they don't have the budget for all the other stuff. So they're going to AI the crap out of the other stuff.
Capitalism, baby. All right. Was that the economy? Do you have a timeline cleanse?
Yeah, I think we should move on. Let's do a timeline cleanse with my new splashy video.
What's that?
That's a swear jar. Every time someone swears, you put a quarter in it.
Who gets the money?
I don't know. We'll use it to buy something for the office, like a case of Bud Light or something.
Fucking awesome. You, Bob.
You, Jim.
Eric, I have a bag on line 3 for you.
Can I borrow your pen? Can I borrow your f***ing pen?
Will the owner of a white station wagon please go f*** yourself?
We're going to go down there and we're going to some ass. We're going to some. We're going to do whatever we have to because we're going to some.
Poop.
Doesn't count.
Shut the up!
I am so proud of you mother suckers. Here, here.
Come on. Pat has been hard at work. We got the bells and whistles going on now.
Bells and whistles, baby. That's all I'm here for. I'm your sidekick, and I put some little bells and whistles on.
I think it's pretty awesome. I'm excited. All right, we are going to do the thing that has always embarrassed us so much, but just say once again, please like and subscribe, smash that notification bell. Thank you. I see a few more people have become members. You guys are so awesome, and we will give you all shout outs at the end. So thank you. Moving on to COVID. Here we go. Wait, and a shot.
Oh yeah.
That was my one thing. I was like, maybe we put a shot at the end of the timeline so we don't
forget.
Get
the timing on this down here.
Yeah, we're getting in there. Cheers. Cheers to COVID. Never ends. Okay.
Let's see how's COVID doing. I know we pretty much have beaten it, but there might be a little bit around still.
Okay. 90. There is more COVID-19 transmission today than during 96.5% of the pandemic.
So you're telling me post-pandemic, we have more COVID than we did during 95% of the pandemic?
Amazing. 2,172 people who were told to go out there and live their best lives perished last week. So that stinks.
At least there's some good stuff coming out of it, like our CDC director saying we're seeing a lot of virus circulating now. She can't even say fucking COVID. There's a lot of virus out there.
Yep.
So get tested and treatment, and get vaccinated, because vaccinated means you're not going to get sick from COVID somehow. Like
it's really amazing. Doesn't mention masks, isolating. Doesn't mention air, ventilation, nothing. That said, this study that came out, which, I'm vaccinated. I mean, what am I, like 6-7 times vaccinated now? I'm a walking petri dish, but it does lower the mortality rate, which is amazing. Right. So oh boy, here's me putting my readers on. Okay. Yeah, I know. The very small blue bar at the bottom, the dark blue, is 30 to 45-year-olds. The orange bar is 50 to 64-year-olds. The blue is 65 to 79-year-olds. And they just say elderly for people who don't want to mention their ages.
Dying.
Elderly, right? But what they're saying is, and then the one to the right of that is all ages. And what they're saying is, for people who were vaccinated in October 2021, that is them on the right. That is their mortality rate on the right side of that left graph. This wasn't as easy as I thought it would be to parse. But anyway, way higher rates, way higher rates of death among the unvaccinated. But what they always fail to say is that, yes, I mean, death is the worst outcome, but just having COVID, it's spirals into so many different issues potentially. They're now saying you're going to have to look for Parkinson's. Anybody who's had COVID, which they now I think like 90% of the whole world has Parkinson's, there's a heart condition pandemic that they're seeing is going to be happening. Yeah.
Cancer rates are going to go through the roof because of COVID. Cancer.
Yep.
Like the one thing that remember Biden's cancer moonshot? He was going to cure cancer when he became president. And meanwhile, he's literally letting a virus spread it's going to dramatically change the cancer rates in this country.
Absolutely. But luckily, Your fear of cancer is outdated. You know, the stenographers in chief, the propagandists there at the Washington Post have his back. Don't worry about the cancer moonshot. Don't worry that COVID infections lower everybody's immunity and have been tied to increased, yes, heart conditions, infections. The RSV and flu are much worse, but also Parkinson's and cancer. So don't worry about it.
It's past TB as leading cause of infectious disease deaths. Do you remember people calling tuberculosis mild, TB outbreaks on hospital wards and in schools being ignored? Parents casually shrugging off a dose of TB in their child? That's what's happening right now. It's past TB.
And we're just raw dog in the air.
Like, yeah,
don't wear masks. Yeah. Go to school. Go to school even when you're sick.
Literally go to school. This is in Oakland, an hour and a half from me, right?
In the bluest state in the country. Yep.
The bluest. Students can now go to class even if they test positive. So I got a kid with COVID. Yeah, go to school.
I mean, where are the teachers' unions? Because the union leadership has really, at the beginning, when people first started being able to go back to work, SAG was amazing with their COVID protocols and precautions. They were really on top of it. Teachers' unions fought really hard. And now there's just total silence.
Yeah, somebody in the chat was mentioning measles. Where was it? Oops. Measles coming back.
Yep.
And it's coming back. But so this is where our the misinformation assholes are piling on. Here he is. Ashish Jha. I don't want to give him the doctor title or call him MD.
Do you know I went to college with him?
Did you really? Did you date?
No. He and Eric Garcetti were in my class at college.
Oh, tragic.
I know. Terrible.
But here he's responding to a tweet about measles being something that we should all worry about, and it's back, but he's undermining COVID with it.
At the same time, has to. Yeah. There's a lot of bad information out there about how COVID damages the immune system. No, there's actually not. There's been study after study in very highly regarded, The Lancet and, scientific journals about how there is, and they all seem to really pile on, what's his name? AJ. He's a researcher who kind of called it out at the beginning that there was going to be T cell dysregulation and sort of compared it to, I know, AJ.
Keep talking. I'll just look at my chat. I'm in a group chat with him.
Yeah. He's great. And they always, every chance they get to sort of either subtweet him or make, little pokes at him. And he's been proven right on all of these ideas about the similarities between AIDS and COVID and their effects on your immune system. AJ, no, what's his name?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought you were looking at it. Anyway.
But then I went down a rabbit hole and I'm like, this is what happens on Twitter. It's like ADD heaven.
I know.
I'm just like bouncing all
like, ding. Anyway, thanks to anti-vaxxers, we're seeing measles outbreaks again. Encourage people to get their kids vaccinated. It's really important. Well, nobody's going to listen to you anymore because you've lied about so many things. You've been wrong about so many things. You've minimized so many things. And if your solution to COVID is just vax and relax, and then people see that everyone's dying suddenly, young people, athletes, dying suddenly at very young ages, and there's no explanation that it could possibly be tied to repeated COVID infections. And instead, everyone's going to think it's just because of the vaccine, even though a lot of those sudden deaths predate the release of the vaccine. Nobody is going to trust the people in charge anymore telling you to get vaccinated, unfortunately.
Right. But the media never points out that you shouldn't trust the media. Because here's him back in 2021. I'm not aware of any fully vaccinated person asymptomatically infecting another person. I'm not saying it never happens or will never happen. It might, but it has to be stunningly rare. And that is part of the reason why CDC changed its guidance today. Stunningly rare is over half of infections are spread from
60%.
asymptomatic carriers.
60%.
I'm going to stick with over half. 60%.
But also, Fauci in 2021 gave a speech talking about that. They knew it back then. We all knew. That's why, like, I didn't take off. I got vaccinated. We were so excited. I was really excited to get vaccinated. I still wore my mask indoors because I didn't know. Maybe I wouldn't come down with it, but I could still be a spreader. Like, yeah, they have destroyed any last hope of a public health, regulatory body in this country. And
no, I mean, between Fauci's bullshit, his bullshit, anyone who goes on CNN and MSNBC, they have no credibility left. These networks would not have them on if they weren't intentionally trying to propagandize us, because their track records are awful. If you look at the science, they're just failing. They're lying to the public.
They never correct themselves. They lie. I am science. Fauci is in such a world of trouble. And that's also never really covered on any of the cable news or, legacy journals, with his funding of gain of function, with his lies about it, with his insane influence to push other scientists who were very open and worried about the possibility that it spread from a lab. And he just faded from the public, but gets to be a hero to Democrats, which is, it's just another nail in the coffin of the party people think that they used to be. I don't even want to give them the benefit that they were ever.
So I will say there's a lot written out there. You just have to hunt for it on the truth. And it's starting to hit mainstream media a little bit. Laura Weiss, I'm friends with her on Twitter. She wrote an article. She's great on COVID every single day. But Democrats can't keep ignoring COVID in 2024. Her article was published. Wired Magazine, which is a tech journal, but a lot of people read Wired every day.
Yep.
There's a huge COVID surge right now, and nobody's talking about it. So the more these things get pointed out to the general public, normal people, and they see it in something like Wired, it makes a difference. So maybe we'll have something happen from it. But the problem is right now, we are going to see a decline because we were at our second biggest peak.
Yep.
And so a decline is not newsworthy. They're not going to talk about they might talk about the decline itself, but like there's no panic to be concerned, because
they're going to push that decline hard as it gets to November.
And the decline isn't like, it just dropped off. We hit 2 million cases a day, and now
we're at 1.75.
Yeah. Remember, 10,000 cases was what Fauci said. 10,000 cases a day was when we could relax on COVID.
Yeah. And we're
at 2 million. And we've never been anywhere remote. Like what's the bottom? I don't know what the bottom is, but it's nowhere near 10,000.
The valleys keep getting higher. So if you look at, every time there's a peak, it's higher. No, that's not true. The peak right now is higher than it's been, except for one other time in the whole pandemic. But the valleys never go down as low as at the beginning.
We aren't getting closer to the valleys being at 10,000.
No, and we're just letting it mutate and, spread more. So even those minor, less severe infections still end up having really catastrophic outcomes for many people, especially with the repeated infections that are happening. All right. What do you think?
I think we should move on. Public service notice. I want to show this one.
Oh, yeah.
A lot more false negatives with the tests. They're saying it takes more time generally for COVID to appear on the tests that we have. So don't trust the positive.
Like 4 days, 5 days, even after your symptoms start to show, it can take that long. So when people test when they feel they have symptoms and then it's negative, they're like, oh, it must be something else, which I'm hearing all the time from people. No, it's not COVID. I tested. But 4 days later, so then they'll go out. Lots of people are still going out sick. Lots of people, which
I mean, it doesn't really matter if you're just going to go to school with COVID anyway.
Yeah. We welcome you.
Come on to school.
We welcome you. Oh, I did just want to say, this always makes me so happy. Don't say you can't make events COVID safer. This activism action had 400 plus people engaged. Everyone wore N95 masks and tested 2 days in a row to make sure this event would be accessible to everyone. And it was a ceasefire pro-Palestine rally. But I just love that they had to wear masks and test to make everybody safe, because when you care about people, that should be across the board.
This should be a norm on the left. I mean, it's going to be a lot for a public protest outdoors to require testing and masking, but the promoters should encourage it at a minimum. And we just need more lefties recognizing, look, you're not really in solidarity if you're spreading COVID, and you're getting people together to spread COVID. Like, that's not good for us.
Not at all.
Not to mention, I mean, obviously you should be leveraging COVID right now if you're a leftist for all the issues we want.
Yeah.
For all it points out all the inequality in our government.
Truly does. It is a working class racial issue for the world, honestly. And they really have just let that go. Although I did see that, I mean, everything just happens so late in the game. But Bernie is calling somebody in to talk, and I can't remember the name of this doctor, to talk about long COVID, to the help committee, to talk about where we stand with that, how much we don't know, how we can't test for anything, how everything is just put under this sort of like long COVID idea. But it'd be nice if it were tied to an emergency action to give us all Medicare for all and everybody to have health care, and to bring back some of those worker protections that Biden did away with.
Yeah. How about, let's start with, obviously, masking in hospitals everywhere nationwide. Simple, stupid, obvious. Transportation,
clean
simple,
the air,
stupid, obvious.
Yeah.
Schools, try to put forward a measure saying, I want all kids to be safe from COVID with clean air.
Yeah.
And see who votes against that.
I mean,
if you position it right, that passes, period.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the thing is the liability, right? Because it's not that expensive to clean the air. I mean, it's expensive, but it's not as expensive as, and universal paid sick leave, but it would actually prevent so many infections. Things would run more smoothly. But the problem is, once they admit that it's airborne, then companies, places of business, school districts, I guess, can be held liable if then they're not keeping it up to that standard. And that's where the fight against it comes. I don't even think it's the... I mean, I think that's a piece of it, but I think it's more symbolic than actual legally. It's because you could implement clean air protections and still not take that as an admission that COVID is dangerous. Right.
It's just that symbolically, you'd be more aware if you're at work. Why are we putting in this new air system? Well, it's a COVID thing. It's oh, now we have to tune into COVID. Maybe I should be working from home, which the oil companies don't like because I'm not spending as much money on gas. Real estate companies don't like it because they're, the local business people own all the property in town. They don't like this.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I guess I do think it has more to do with liability, because the first time they do that, it'd be like saying, we're putting in air conditioning units or central air in every business. Why? Well, it's hotter now. Why? Global warming. You can make all those connections, but actually now it's so much more pleasant to go to work. The AC is on, the air is clean. I'm not sick all the time. My coworkers aren't constantly calling in sick and not being able to do their job. I do think it goes back to a liability issue, but we'll see. You might be right. I don't know that that's enough to prevent them from doing such an easy fix if it didn't come with the other repercussions of the admission that they've known now for years. I mean, they're just digging their heels in. They've known it's airborne for years.
Look, it's a mix of all of it. It's capitalism. Yeah. It's just not wanting people to recognize they could have some sort of power at work to change their their situation. It's the real estate people. It's the money behind it all. It's people wanting to get reelected that are dug into their positions that can't admit capitalism exists. I mean, that COVID exists. Long COVID is real. Kids are at risk. Well, then they have to walk out all the bullshit. And we have a political system that doesn't allow mistakes, which
you double down and keep moving forward.
But it's all of it. It's just but we have to get out of this trap because we know that COVID is mutating endlessly. They're talking about a mutation coming. I mean, the potential of a mutation, because they've seen it in rats where devastating things happen and you die immediately. And they've already been able to do that in rats. If it mutates a certain little gene thing, blah.
They're actually creating that. I just saw
So, I mean, we know eventually this has the potential to mutate to something. It's awful now, but it could just sweep through the country and wipe us all out. I mean,
so if you're going to force us to live with it, clean the air. Clean the air.
Just spend a couple bucks. Put on some masks.
Let's do a timeline cleanse.
Let's move on.
Let's do a timeline. Let's do a little timeline.
And we have to do a shot. Let's do our shot.
Shot and a timeline cleanse. All right.
We'll do our shot while the timeline cleanse is playing.
Oh, everybody. That one got me at the beginning when you showed it to me earlier. That the second one where he bounces, I got nervous for a second before I realized what was happening there.
It's a little weird. It's a little creepy. That's kind of where my mind lives. But
I'm glad that we had that little girl, and we know how she got that reaction shot because of our meme revealer. Yeah.
So the meme for anyone who didn't watch last week we showed it? I don't know.
2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Originally, because the still of her face is the whole meme, right? Generally, it's just that weird little look. But it was the video of her daughter going to Disneyland. Her mom's in the front seat and tells the daughter in the back.
Her sister, her older sister.
She loses her mind.
So we just see the older sister.
And she's like,
yeah. We just see the older sister, and then it pans over to her, and she's looking at her older sister freak out about going to Disneyland, and that is where that meme was born. That's a good one. Lynn, thank you for your super sticker. That is so generous. Thank you so much. And sorry. I think I saw one other comment that I wanted to, well, all right, I'll get better here. There was somebody else that I wanted to highlight and now I can't find it. I'm sorry. This is why we need a producer. I know. It
is tough, tricky monitoring the chat and trying to produce all.
We're trying to wear lots of different hats. We're getting there. All right, we are moving on from the river to the sea, which can get you banned by free speech hero Elon Musk. How are we doing? We're now 100 days in. We're actually more than that, but we passed the 100-day mark, I think 2 days ago.
It was a milestone.
Of Israel's genocide on Gaza. And I feel like maybe the way to start that is with Motaz, who is a journalist in Gaza who's been doing amazing work. So we're just going to see how he wants to commemorate the first 100 days.
get to say Free Palestine.
He has been so amazing and broadcasting the horrors. And today, I think, or yesterday, he announced that one of his cameramen, drone operators, had been killed.
Unbelievable.
Sorry, yeah.
I mean, the bravery of all those journalists over there, all the times they've been on air, and people
And knowing that
heading
they're
in now.
targeted and their children, their families are targeted. The journalist whose name is now escaping me, whose whole family was, not whole family, his, I think, wife, mother, two of his children were killed once when he was on air. Then his son, who was also a journalist, was killed. I can't remember his name right now, but he was injured in an attack recently. They have just gotten him out. Finally, he's in Qatar getting medical attention. But, you know, one thing, and I don't think this actually necessarily protects Motaz, but I did see he has 18 million followers on Instagram. And he just started his account or just sort of became visible to people outside of Gaza who weren't sort of like really focused before October 7th. President Biden has 19 million. I mean, that's phenomenal. And I know there's a lot of like, you know, Twitter isn't real life and social media. But, you know, the reason that so many young people are not swallowing the propaganda is because they are tuning in to Twitter and Instagram and Telegram and watching the reality of what's happening. And they're not believing the lies that are being pushed on CNN and MSNBC and Fox and, you know, all of the network shows. So I'm so grateful that that exists, but it's
but meanwhile we're looking at our government out there not even mentioning 24,000 dead Palestinians. Their White House
in Biden's statement did not mention them once. He did not mention Palestinians once. It is so atrocious. He did not mention them one time. And, you know, so he wrote that, and I know Zogby also wrote, or sorry, that was Zogby that you just showed, right?
Right.
Yeah. And here's this person was in the Obama White House also saying, this might be the most shameful statement I've ever seen from an American president. Not even a hypocritical genuflection toward regretting 24,000 Palestinian deaths. The statement from President Joe Biden marking 100 days of captivity for hostages in Gaza. You know, it really, again, sort of shows you the level of media control and people in power control in this country about how they want us to view this genocide.
They are really hanging on, and the public is not buying it at all. And that's the beauty of what's happening right now. If you can find any silver lining in it, but
I mean, even the fact that last week
we're not, none of this is having an effect on anything in Israel and Palestine. It's having an effect on Democrats' chances of winning the White House.
Right.
But Israel has gotten what they want because Biden is a puppet to his donor class, who are a puppet to Israel, who are a puppet. Everybody is a puppet to the financial interests in why they're in this war to begin with. It's not about Palestinian terrorists. It's about a couple things. They want their port passageway that they want to be built to do it cheaper, to go through Palestine. There's natural gas off the coast. That's a new thing that has been discovered, you know, sort of recently, that Palestine had natural gas off their coastline, which they were entitled to because of some agreement with Israel that became extremely lucrative, that they didn't know initially how much natural gas they had there. So there's those two things. None of this is about safety and protect. Like, why is the U.S. backing this? It's not about safe. We're not safer by committing
No.
a genocide and funding a genocide.
Absolutely not.
Israelis aren't safer from this at all.
No, Israelis aren't safer. Jews aren't safer. I mean, obviously, Palestinians are not safer. Muslim Americans, Arab Americans, not safer. I mean, nobody is safer because of all this. They, just in terms of like the media's propaganda, they did not even air South Africa's the opening statements where they presented.
Imagine you're up for you're at the Hague. We're having the International Courts of Justice. Is that even what ICJ means? I don't know. I'm making that up.
In International Criminal, Court of Justice.
Anyway,
oh my God.
They're holding a trial calling your country guilty of genocide. This is the most respected court that the U.S. propped up and created largely and got the world's buy-in. And it's super important to a lot of things that happen in the world. But we're only going to show the defense in a court case.
Which is just, it's not against
it.
All
the evidence was damning as all hell because the evidence was like, if you look at every clip we ever showed of some psycho in Israel saying something who's in leadership about wanting to kill all the people in Palestine, they aired like an hour of that shit.
I mean, I watched all of it. It was 3.5 hours. They did not show the horrifying videos of what is actually happening there, but they used, as you said, the people in leadership, they used their actual words, their genocidal words, and did talk about, the numbers, the devastating numbers, and how it was worse than Dresden. It was the bombs that we were dropping were worse than, the impact, worse than Hiroshima, the US and Israel. 3.5 hours. And then the next day, basically, it was Israel just saying, we're not genocidal, they're genocidal. We respect human life. And the guy who lost his paper, which was hilarious, only because we all needed a moment of levity to see this Yahoo defending genocide. And he loses one of the pages in his, defense argument. He kind of is like flustered and looked around. That's the best they could come up with.
Yeah. I saw a meme with the guy, Palestine.
Yeah, it was like supposed to be Hamas, like grabbing it. Yeah. And there were like Hamas counters. They kept talking about Hamas. That was their big thing, was Hamas, Hamas, Hamas. And now, I don't know, are we already, well, Netanyahu has said that it doesn't matter what anybody says. They're not going to obey or follow whatever decision they come to. So either the decision will be, I mean, the actual end decision probably won't come for a few years, but there could be the motion that would force them to have a ceasefire if they come to that.
Right. And most likely that would be the outcome. I mean, from what I've looked at, most likely they would come out and say, this is a war crime, or they don't have to call it a war crime. So they're even protected there. They just have to demand a ceasefire. They have to say, based on what we've seen, humanitarian, whatever, we have to have a ceasefire. The problem is they have no legal arm to do anything. Right. And that goes to the UN next.
To enforce anything. Right.
Yeah. It gets sent to the UN as the sort of enforcing arm of the ICJ, where we have veto power.
Yep. Which is what's going to happen, which will make even more of a mockery of, because there have been several resolutions that have gone through the UN in the last 102 days to try to have a ceasefire. We've rejected vetoed them. The US has. There's that horrific, iconic picture of the U.S. representative raising his hand as the sole no vote, like the opposite of Kirsten Sinema putting her thumb down. And Netanyahu has said that it doesn't matter who, we're not, what did he say? We're not one of the stars on your flag. We're not one of the states of the U.S. Nobody can tell us what to do. We'll continue doing exactly what we need to do. So that's, that idea that we are part of some rules-based order. I don't think most people who don't live in the US believe that anyway. But it
They
might
don't,
be a
and-
turning point for people in the US to see.
But this is where the delusional average American, delusional, I don't mean that word, sorry, but the propagandized average American doesn't even realize that the rest of the world, other than the UK did the same thing with the war trials at the ICJ. The UK also showed the defense and not the case against Israel. Like, how do you not show the case against Israel? But the rest of the world has watched this, and they've followed our history better than most Americans followed our history because of our impact in the world. And so we have lost so much standing to justify anything we ever do.
Yeah.
And so where this comes into economic issues at some point with the US is people are going to start boycotting Israeli products.
That's right.
And they're
going to do to them what they did to South Africa
of this fight.
Yep.
We are also going to be impacted by that. So, I mean, that shouldn't guide how you feel about this war, but it's economically, it's going to have an impact here. And I don't think anyone's talking about that.
Well, obviously it's already having an impact in the Red Sea, right? And it turns out that the Houthis are the only adults in the room who are trying to stop a genocide. And so now the US has classified them as terrorists also, which is just amazing. They haven't killed anybody. They have only attacked ships that are inbound or outbound from Israel as some kind of blockade to stop a genocide. And now
look at the hottie. Come on.
Timothy Chalamet is what they're calling him. Yeah, he's got quite a following now. But you know, the idea that blockading a country makes you terrorists should really wake up people to our own country having their blockade on Cuba, Israel blockading goods coming into Gaza for decades. But now the Houthis, who are trying to stop a genocide, they're terrorists for their trying to blockade these ships going in and out of Israel. I mean, you know, I don't think that most people in the rest of the world, like the global South, certainly they do not look at, I think they've thought of the US as the biggest terrorist organization now for decades, right? They've all been victims of our either military, attacks or financial attacks. And I think this, you know, what happened with Russia invading Ukraine unprovoked. Anyway, and we never even talk about that situation anymore. It's amazing. All of the people who died there for absolutely nothing, because now Zelensky's being pressured to accept even worse compromises than Biden said were unacceptable 2 years ago. But anyway, that realignment with BRICS forming their own, you know, currency and being able to bypass all of the sanctions that the US has imposed on other countries as a way of leveraging power, I mean, what you're saying is going to have an enormous effect. And I mean, maybe we finally get that multipolar world that I think is necessary before we destroy it. No,
it's so rough though, because what's going to happen here, we have a convergence of shitty things happening to Americans, right? I mean, not to make it about us, but making it about us for a second, we've got boycotts coming, cost of goods going up. They're going to go up a lot because of the boycotts coming.
Right.
We've already got inflation. We've got COVID, which is going to drive goods up. Prices are going to go up. AI is going to expand. We have a lot of things clearly taking our empire down, which some of them needed to happen. You know, I mean, our financial might, our military might needs to be diminished in the world. But if we actually had the power to change things and we got our government to change their foreign policy on some level, it could impact all of this. It could impact our healthcare system. We could make things better here by bettering our place in the world, getting out of this bullshit war, not making the world hate us, joining every other industrialized country with universal healthcare. These are all doable things that we could actually possibly change. But that's why this Palestine war is actually front and center for progressives.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, as you just said, it's also another piece of evidence in how our government is not a democracy and they don't listen to us at all, whether it's healthcare, free public college, legalizing weed, Green New Deal, like all these things, ceasefire, majority popular, and they're just going to ignore us. I mean, the fact that Biden just went around Congress, Biden who said that he couldn't go around the parliamentarian so that we could have a $15 minimum wage, which is already so much beneath what it should be. But he's now gone around Congress twice to give more arms and funding to Israel, and then says that he's feeling really frustrated by how, Netanyahu isn't taking him seriously. He's not frustrated. He keeps giving him arms. He's just trying to distance himself so he doesn't end up in The Hague also, which of course he won't, because we totally delegitimized ICC and said that we would invade them if they ever brought someone from the US or Israel to their court. So I don't know.
Yeah, we're fucked.
We're fucked.
Look,
Timothy Chalamet, come help us.
Whatever, be a hero. But with the public, this is where it's always like progressives latch onto the moment of the issue that matters, that's front and center to the public. And the public is very in tune right now with the disinformation about Palestine and their powerlessness to change things. That's why you have all these protests everywhere.
Yeah.
No politician can speak anywhere without getting interrupted.
Yeah.
God bless everyone.
Yes. With the direct action, getting out
debate,
there. Yeah.
Every single public town forum.
Yep.
But that's where we can connect. And, that connection extends people to the next step in my mind of acknowledging healthcare.
This is where we have our power.
It's the same sort. It's a continuum of the next most obvious thing our government is failing on is healthcare.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you in theory. I don't see it happening. I don't have the optimism
down, but that's where we can.
Yeah, I think that is. Yes, and certainly seeing the mass actions happening to try to force the people in power to make a change is inspiring. And I do have hope that we can possibly keep taking that to the next step. I just keep thinking of all the people who are being massacred every day. And, there was I'm sure many of you saw it, and I didn't want to show it here, but, the father of the doctor who is performing an amputation of the leg of his own daughter on his kitchen table as Israeli military are surrounding him. And there, there's a very graphic picture of it. And this is happening 10 times a day in Gaza to children. So, yes, I hope that these actions change something, but in the meantime, it is, they've just bombed, I think, the last surviving university in Gaza. They've completely destroyed it.
No.
It's unlivable. They are thinking now that more people are going to die in the next year from starvation and disease.
They have none of the angst against them, the obvious disagreement with their policies from everyone in the country and the world has changed a single thing they've done, which only has empowered them at this point. So I think it's fucked. I think they've already won, because whatever happens from this next is, they've won the first phase. Is it good for them, their country in the long run? No, it's terrible for their country. But that's what leadership does in capitalist worlds. In Netanyahu, everyone's self-interested in politics, so he's going to stay in power longer if there's a war, which only exacerbates his interest to amplify war with Yemen and Saudi Arabia and Iran.
I mean,
but all these people, they benefit short term in some way, and the public is fucked the whole time.
Yeah.
So my point with that is that no matter what happens, like they've already destroyed so much, the hospitals, the schools, everything, all the infrastructure. You can't go back to this. So we're already at a point where, well, what the fuck what is the solution that benefits the people fucked by this situation the most?
Right.
And that solution is already awful. Like you can't make it that much worse.
Well, and Jake Sullivan is talking about normalizing with the Arab states again, which ignores the plight of Palestinians. And he's talking about that just like in the last couple days, which was the whole reason that the attack happened on October 7th, was because Hamas, the leadership in Gaza, was realizing that they were going to be left out of any sort of self-governance by what Israel and the US were doing with the other Arab nations. And that's right back where they're talking about, like, I mean, the way the Biden administration is talking about the two-state solution with the Palestinian Authority, who are wildly unpopular amongst Palestinians for selling out to Israel and basically just being like their, police arm. There's just I don't think there's any clear idea of what happens the day after, even if you are not looking at the humanity and the people whose lives have been completely obliterated. There isn't even really a plan.
No. And I know we want to move on. It's been a longer show. We're trying to get this show shorter. I do, because I don't think we're going to come back to it. I want to show the video of the thought killers.
Oh yeah, it's really good.
I feel like this is such a good video, and
we've had it here for a few weeks, and we should show it.
So I'm going to show it, and we'll be back in a second.
There's a clear pattern that Israel is targeting the best and brightest of Gaza. They are going, as you said, they're going after everyone who might provide a way of living a human life in Gaza. So they're going after lawyers, they're going after medics, they're going after teachers and journalists. Yes, well, one of the most, it's all so horrific, it's beyond words, but Al Jazeera was shut down in Israel, and then the day after, they bombed and killed the family of the Al Jazeera correspondent in Gaza. So that was a statement. It was saying, we will kill your family. They didn't even kill him, they killed his family. So I think that this is part of what needs to change. Is the narrative is that this is none of these are mistakes, that they're targeting the best and brightest of Gaza because they want to destroy any remnants of human life in Gaza. They want to make it unable to live. So I just wanted you guys to talk about what you think Israel's goal is.
Well, actually, they also target the peace activists. And it's shocking, even those who call for peace, they're targeting them. For example, they targeted my friend Ahmed Abartima, the founder of the Great March of Return. He is my best friend, and he has always been one of the most vocal voices for the peaceful resistance, the unarmed.
Yeah, that's really good, and it's exactly what they've done. And it's I'm going to mispronounce it, but Wael al-Juda, who is the journalist who I was referring to earlier, who was shown in that, where they didn't like his coverage of what was happening at the beginning and killed his family. But there's so many. I think it's over 100 journalists at this point who have been killed, targeted with huge press jackets on, killed by Israel and the IDF. How does a group come to be designated a terrorist group? What do you have to do to be designated a terrorist group. Just be somebody the U.S. doesn't like.
I mean, it's definitely changed based on the U.S. perspective. Like you said earlier, the Houthis are now a terrorist group. They were a terrorist group, and then they weren't, and then they are.
Yep.
And it's all U.S.
Like, why isn't the IDF considered a terrorist group?
By
the way, another mother of a hostage just today or yesterday put out a huge statement saying that the IDF killed her son, different from the 3 who were shot point blank, speaking Hebrew, I think shirtless, waving flags, white flags, saying, those guys, they were shot by the IDF. Yeah, so this is okay. So this is different. I mean, this is terrorism for sure. But Israeli quadcopter drones opened fire on Palestinians who had gathered to receive flour brought by UN trucks. 50 Palestinians were killed and dozens more were injured.
Sorry, I thought I was showing the Hannibal Directive. Which,
yeah, that's okay.
Which does show. So the aftermath of this fed the early media, all the destroyed cars and
outside of the concert, right?
At the concert, and,
right?
We had reports from people at the concert that were Israeli media saying helicopters were firing at us. It was Israelis.
Yep.
And all that was sort of dismissed by our media. And now there's an actual investigation that confirms it was the IDF helicopter shooting on Israeli concert goers
because of the Hannibal Directive, right? So this is from Yediot, a newspaper in Israel, saying prevent terrorists from returning to Gaza at all costs, even if they have hostages with them. So they are saying that Israel ordered all combat units on the 7th of October to stop Palestinian fighters from returning to Gaza with captives at all costs. This was an order to use the Hannibal procedure. And this is from an Israeli paper. And I'm not going to be able to read all this. And it says at midnight, but then Arnaud Bertrand, who is posting this, has an addendum, and he said that there was a mistranslation. It should say at noon on October 7th. The IDF ordered all of its combat units in practice to use the Hannibal Directive, although without clearly mentioning this explicit name. The order was to stop at all costs. So that's what we just said. It's estimated that about 1,000 terrorists and infiltrators were killed in the area between the Otaf settlements and the Gaza Strip. It's not clear at this time how many of the hostages were killed due to the activation of this command. In the week after the attack, soldiers of elite units checked about 70 vehicles that were left in the area between Otaf settlements and the Gaza Strip. These are vehicles that did not reach Gaza because on the way they were shot by a combat helicopter. And I have to say, I mean, I don't know how, everybody who talks about this on the media should be asked, do you condemn the IDF the way they do about Hamas? Do you condemn the IDF? Before we can even talk about it, I'd like Pierce Morgan. Do you condemn the IDF, the IOF?
Right.
But yeah, so now it's very clear that hundreds of Israelis actually were killed by the IDF. And maybe that will be something that changes as more and more families of hostages speak out, as more, there's the young man who is refusing to join the IDF, which is illegal to fight that conscription. So he's going to be going to jail, but he's now joined by 280 other Israeli teenagers. So, maybe when it sort of comes from the inside, but that's the problem. It's like, so Netanyahu knows how unpopular he is. Obviously with the left or peace activists, but even, with people on the right, they don't think he's going far enough. And he has all these criminal indictments against him. So his only hope of not going to jail is to continue this war right now.
Yeah, he has no interest in stopping this at all. And the U.S. has proven powerless, but it's not that we are powerless. It's that Biden chooses to be powerless because he's beholden to whoever's in his ear at this point. And if our funding is allowing this, if Biden came out today and said this is unacceptable, this is a genocide, it's over. They can't continue this.
Yep.
The world would stop for them. The fight would have to end. We are the ones, us Americans, are the ones letting our government make this genocide happen.
100%, which is why they keep putting out this ridiculous thing of Biden being frustrated. You know, I think he's thinking he can distance himself from criminal allegations.
Yeah, he's trying, but they're doing the whole, what can he do? There's a Republican Senate, you know, Republican Senate. We can't do anything. The parliamentarian, you know, he's trying, but he has no power. So that's the new spins. Like, he can't control. Israel's its own thing. They're doing what they can. Meanwhile, he's rejecting calls to have any group in the U.S. whatsoever investigate these allegations of a crime that there's literally at The Hague right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Bernie finally showed up and said he won't say ceasefire, but we need oversight of what Israel's doing with our weapons in Gaza. And only 10 other senators agreed with him. 72 senators rejected. So there you go.
Yeah. All right. Let's
leave
Israel for
now. Are we doing a timeline? I need a shot and then a timeline cleanse.
You're going to force a shot on me? I'll have a shot.
Is this my audible? Am I making an
Because
audible?
I've been so coherent so far.
I know. I'm realizing my sadness and my my shots are catching up. I'm becoming a little tongue-tied here. And then we got to get to our timeline cleanse, and we still, oh God, we have to go through this a little faster. Okay.
Cheers. We'll rifle through the rest.
Okay.
All right, coming up, timeline cleanse. What do we got on? Oh, Israel. Here we go.
I just realized we're going to get another demonetization. We keep getting, anytime we show a video that has a song that's known, I have to start editing early the next morning when I get those alerts from YouTube. Shoot, I should have noticed that. That was my one too.
All I was thinking was, Kit, is there any world where a cat can do that?
Oh, I bet you can train. You train her. She could do it.
I don't think so, because I'm getting attacked. Like the last 10 minutes, I've been getting attacked by this.
I did see her there. Yeah, she is feisty, that one. Yeah, a new phase of war. LOL is right. It's just gotten worse. Drinks for everybody. All right, we are moving on to the. I mean, I wish I could say it's comedy, but the flaccid election. 2024 is here. We had a few dropouts from after the Iowa caucuses on the Republican side. Vivek Ramaswamy started off saying a vote for him was a vote for Trump. So don't vote for Trump, vote for him if what you really want is Trump. I don't know, some very strange circular logic. And then he just dropped out and endorsed Trump right away and is now calling on Nikki Haley and DeSantis to join him in the inevitable surge.
And Christie, I think, is doing the opposite. He's just like, he dropped out. I mean, he's the only one that ever called out Trump's stuff, but
as hard as he did. Yeah.
I mean,
that's why liberals on MSNBC and CNN love him. He's their go-to person. They bring him on.
He's the one who's got the little quip ready to go against Trump, which makes a little sound bite. They can put a video out.
What do you call him? Ducking Donald the Duck, because he wasn't going to debate. Whatever. So silly.
But I just want to mention, since you're bringing up that, like, somebody on Twitter said this, but like the first time that Trump says to Biden in a debate, "Genocide Joe."
I mean, there's nothing.
And don't think he can't frame things that way.
100%.
And he doesn't care. And Israel probably doesn't even care by the time Trump gets to that position.
I mean, they like Trump way more than they like Genocide Joe, and
they're gonna know. Yeah. They're gonna know Trump's in their corner. It's just political theater.
100%.
He's gonna genocide Joe his way to the White House.
I think that is exactly what's going to happen. We never firmed up, solidified our bet where you said that DeSantis.
Where's the mute button?
Oh my God.
Okay,
I never came up with a really good punishment for you, but you should have a punishment.
I still don't know that he's their nominee. It's still TBD.
Well, see. Listen, this is what Trump just posted on his Truth Social about his main competition in the general election.
At White House Senior Living, our residents feel right at home. Our vibrant facility offers delightful activities and outings, round-the-clock professional care, and exquisite house-made meals.
Well, I've been eating everything that's put in front of me. I've been eating all Italian foods, basically.
And ice cream.
And ice cream, chocolate chip ice cream.
White House Senior Living, where residents feel like presidents.
I mean, last week he was wandering around on stage imitating Biden to much laughter. This week he's putting out, somebody else did that compilation. It puts that out. I mean, yeah. And the answer back to that is all Biden talks about is the big lie. He's dropped to a new low right now in his approval ratings. This is where he is. The January of 2024, 33% approval, all time low.
By all metrics, by anyone being honest who covers political theater, the races, horse races, all this stuff, he's going to lose. Like anyone pretending anything else is just propagandist. Like there's a possibility something like COVID happens, something like, 2 days before the election, they realize we have video of Trump raping someone or something like really obscene that even his own supporters can't support. But other than that, he's lost. It's already over. I mean, they're putting out stories on the Hill of like Biden winning in like the bluest. Biden's beating Trump in California. Like that's a headline. This is a story. They're spinning everything they've got, and they have nothing.
Yeah, they have nothing. They have on the books that he's going to be meeting with Arab and Muslim leaders in Michigan, but already some of the people who head up groups there are saying we're not meeting with him, and they'll watch them talk about how it's going to be like a scheduling conflict or something. We're not meeting with him. We're not voting for him. We're not voting for Trump, but we're not casting a vote for Genocide Joe. So that is done. He's lost young people. That whole idea of demographics being destiny, he's disproven that as Black voters, Hispanic voters, young voters some of them are moving over to Trump, but they're definitely abandoning the Democratic Party, which has its lowest number of people who identify as part of the party in decades.
Yeah, it's something like 27% or something.
Yeah.
Versus independents, which is, again, I'm just making numbers up, but 44%.
Sure.
I want to say.
Whatever.
But there are so many movable people in the middle.
Yeah.
And the issue isn't even that they're going to move to Trump. It's just they're not going to vote. That's what's going to kill Biden. It is not Trump support that's going to kill Biden. It's people just going, fuck this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that Trump does have an enthusiastic base. I mean, you're right. I don't think.
Yeah. His base.
The disaffected Democratic voters, yes, are not like Arab Americans, Muslim Americans who had thought they were going to vote for Biden before this are likely not moving over to genocide Trump, because if he were in charge at this point, I am sure the same thing would be happening. Although he's just chaotic enough that, I don't think he'd mind it, but he's chaotic enough that I wonder if they would have thought they could totally get away with how it's all playing out. I have no idea. Anyway, but the point is he's not the person in charge while it's happening.
But I do think there would be more calls on Israel even in this situation with Trump as president. I mean,
from the left, from all Democrats.
You have,
if
you just had MSNBC, which is an arm of the Democratic Party, if they latched onto it and were like, oh, we got to make this a story because it hurts the Republicans,
right?
Then CNN would have to take a little bit of that story up, which would change the dynamic a little bit.
Yep. People in Congress. I mean, you know, the one time, remember who is it? Peter Jennings or Tom Brokaw? No, Peter Jennings.
The bombs. He was the bomb.
Yeah. It was like, today is the day when Trump bombed Syria, the mother of all bombs.
Yeah, when he became our president.
Yeah. And he was like, today is the day Trump really became president. So, I mean, I agree. I do think that Democrats, liberals, whatever, would be calling Trump out in a way that they are not calling Biden out. But I wonder if it would even be at the level that I would hope it would be. But anyway, Biden's done. But Lindsey Graham talking to his fellow Republicans today saying we better take this border policy that Biden is offering us because we're never going to get something as favorable to our loathsome position, even with Trump, as we're going to get with Biden, because they know that there are enough Democrats who are going to sign on and get their hateful border policy.
NPR today was all about playing comments by people saying, you know, the budget, because passing the budget, the budget resolution, whatever. Sorry, my cat is biting my toes as we speak. Not biting, clawing the fuck out of my toes. Excuse me. NPR, their whole thing was they're promoting a bipartisan message. They're saying, look, this is likely to pass. Let's hear some quotes by Democrats saying we're tough on the border too. Both sides acknowledge the border is a big issue. You know, so they're teaching, they're
bipartisan compromise.
Yeah, they're training their super progressive liberal left audience to just go, you know what? Everybody agrees that we need to build that wall, you know, more or less.
See, Biden can bring both sides together. When it comes to funding cops, building the wall, deporting people, migrants in cages.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the whole thing's about funding Ukraine. Really, it's all about funding Ukraine, which is funding the military industrial complex, which is funding
more war, less us.
Everything we don't agree with. Like the public doesn't support the Ukraine war at this point.
But what they will, and I mean, I don't know what this fixation with liberals is on bipartisan compromise, being the adults in the room. You know, not just put on your big boy pants, don't take your ball and go home. All of that bullshit rhetoric, which just means that all of the CEOs get exactly what they want because they take their ball and go home the second they don't get what they want. So to act like that's not what politics is just so ignorant.
The whole shtick for the last 20 years has been Republicans are unreasonable and Democrats are reasonable. And the Democrats' reasonableness is just giving Republicans what they want because that's what their donors want.
Exactly.
It's the Harlem Globetrotters in action.
Generals. Yep. Every time.
Every time.
All right. That's it on Biden, right? Is there anything else we need to say about Biden and 2024? It's going to be, but I will just say, what'd you say?
All right, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're right. God, that's got to be so much.
It's long, though. It's too long.
Talk about. Yeah.
It's too long.
Darn it. Well, maybe we can show it next week because it's so exemplary of everything. That Nikki Haley is being pushed by corporate news as the sane Republican and the future of the Republican Party and the good one. Like she is the one that Republican donors, but also cable news really wants. And Joy Ann Reid said that the reason she didn't win Iowa is because Iowa is so racist. That's she and the ladies of the View could be also always our.
So she said that Nikki Haley didn't win Iowa because Iowa's racist.
Mm-hmm. Unlike South Carolina that's elected her as governor twice, but okay.
But this is following Nikki Haley refusing to acknowledge that racism was a part of the Civil War.
Yeah, or even that it exists in this country. She says it's never been a racist country. She changed her name.
Like Joanne Reed is the biggest piece of shit. Like
the worst. Just
she
so
could be the worst of the week
dishonest.
every week if we
Bill
wanted
Maher,
to. Also,
just the worst. All right, timeline cleanse. Before we go, are we going to go to the worst of the week, or are we going to?
Yeah, no, let's do it. But I don't know if I should. I really don't know if we showed this clip or not. I have the worst memory on earth, but we're going to show it anyway, and I'll enjoy it again a second time if that's the case.
America. All right, let's get to the worst of the week really quickly. We're just going to revisit right now. We are in
worst of the week. Did you say?
Oh, what? I need give our graphics guy a raise.
I need more explosions than that one.
Hard. All right, we got worst of the week. Where is the CDC director? A huge COVID surge right now. Nobody is talking about it. Where has she been? She has been gone for almost a month during the second largest COVID surge ever. And here she is. And we already showed her ridiculous statement where she doesn't even, well, no. Oh, and this one she does.
Beware the virus. There's a virus going around.
Flu, she does say flu, COVID, and RSV. You always got to put flu and RSV in there every time. It's part of the rules if you're going to be.
COVID got upgraded to the second, though.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Usually it's like flu, RSV, and you might be COVID too, like little tack at the end.
Exactly. Keep your community safe. Thank you. No talk about masks or cleaning the air. And then there was just a little bit of fun with it.
Well, and literally in her tweet, not masking in a group setting around 100 people probably.
And I think the last time, that might have been the last time she was seen, but right before that, she was getting her updated booster in a doctor's office, excuse me, and neither one of them was masking.
Right, promoting that the only solution is the vaccine, which does not prevent infection, prevents maybe you dying, lowers your risk of dying.
Right.
But
yeah. Somebody graphed it. I mean, I love how sort of like hands-on everybody got in this. I graphed Mandy Cohn tweets versus Biobot COVID wastewater to show, that crocodile mouth of her tweets just keep going down as the wastewater infection goes up.
Hiding. She is like going to be like probably our next president because they are going to reward her so much for her part in this.
Do you think she just got COVID and had to dismiss herself for a while, excuse herself?
I mean,
it's
I'm sure she did.
That she hasn't been here, but isn't there anybody else in the whole CDC who could come out and talk, or the Surgeon General, or somebody who's in charge of public health? I mean, the fact, what is happening? If this were Trump, and here's the thing, and this is why, that's whole like accelerationist thing and, blow it all up. Honestly, Biden is blowing everything up. He is the accelerationist. If it were Trump, that people would be saying, what kind of White House is this? What kind of administration? They don't care about public health. Where's the CDC director? They would be talking about it constantly. And instead, nobody mentions it except for, those of us on Twitter who are like, where the hell is Mandy Cohen? But nobody's talking about it.
Yeah, she's embarrassing. I mean, after 17 days, she popped her head up. I mean, this is what people need to realize. The CDC's role is not like, they're not a crisis management group. They're not coming in after the fact. You're supposed to get out there and message and try to prevent illness. And she let the winter surge that became the second biggest peak ever, that everyone following COVID said was going to become the biggest peak ever. This didn't sneak up on her. Everyone was screaming at her about it, and she ignored it entirely. And then after the surge happens, her first response was not even wear a mask or not, let's acknowledge COVID. Her first response was, there's a lot of virus out there, get vaccinated.
I mean, which is your last line of defense. You know, I've said that to some liberals and they get really upset. I'm like, no, that is your last line of defense. That means the virus has gotten into you. That's what, like, that's where you need the vaccination. What you would like to do is prevent it from getting to that point. There's just no talk about protection or prevention at all. All right. Was that it for our
worst of the week? That's good enough.
All right.
We've been on too long.
Yeah, we did just want to thank, because we had quite a few people join as new members. Thank you. I think we did already thank Reflect the Sun, gifted 10 Punch Up Pod memberships. Thank you. We have a super chat from Kimmy, $4.99. Cheers. Lori became a new member. Thank you, Lori. We've got Cora. Thank you. 5 Punch Up Pod memberships. Remember, you have to subscribe to our channel, our YouTube channel, in order to get one of those gifts. They happen randomly, I guess somebody said. Lynn, super sticker. Thank you so much. $9.99. Devin, 1 Punch Up Pod membership. Thank you for gifting that. You guys are so awesome. Seriously, you bring so much joy to us. Thank you for letting us do this with all of you every week. We love you guys.
Cheers. And I just want to say, I appreciate everyone donating. We're not grifting. I hate podcasting because it's a profitable venue. It will never be for us. I mean, barring some miracle, we're not in it for the money. And if that happened, like I'm over 50 years old. I'm living in this shitty apartment. I'm not in for money. I could be doing that in the corporate world in a million different eras.
But we really appreciate it. So thank you.
I love you guys. And let's end on one good thing.
Yes, let's.
It might involve some criminal activity, which I don't endorse at all.
If you see someone shoplifting, no, you didn't. Right. Love you guys. Cheers. Keep punching up. We'll see you next week.